Hi, I'm Pia Maria Thoren, and I'm the Inspiration Director of Agile People, and I'm an Agile People coach. I live in Gothenburg, and I'm on the west coast of Sweden. It's raining heavily today, and I'm very thrilled to be here with you today in this conference. I would like to share my presentation with you, which is about the future role for HRN managers, the Agile People Coach. This one is called. So I hope you can see my presentation. It seems like you are seeing the wrong view here, so I will try again to share another link with you. Yes, okay, great. So the future role for HR managers, the Agile People Coach. And this is what Henry Ford said, and it says something about the way that he viewed people. A few people in the top create structures of micromanagement that flows top down. And he said, thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably why so few engage in it. And it says something, of course, about he view people. We will come back to this statement. The next picture I want to show to you is from a Ford factory. People were indeed part of a machinery in this time. Scientific management, it was also called Taylorism, was a theory of management that analyzed workflows. And its main objective was to improve economic efficiency and especially labor productivity. And it was one of the earliest attempts to apply science to the engineering of processes and to management. Well, Taylorism was highly effective for meeting challenges of that time, which was mainly about industrial manufacturing and logistics. So they built management systems of standardization to create efficiency at the production line. Another guy who had a lot of influence here in the late 1950s, beginning of the 1960s, was Douglas MacGregor, who wrote a book. So how we view people ultimately affects how we structure our management processes. So that's the point. The structures you provide to people will decide in the end how they will also act and behave inside your organization. I wrote a book in 2017. It's called Agile People, a radical approach for HR and managers that leads to motivated employees. And I traveled the world with this book and made a lot of trainings and keynote sessions as a result. In that book, I talk about the new role that managers and leaders need to take. Later, I also gave out a picture book. And now this autumn, we made the Agile People Principles book, Your Call to Action for the Future of Work, where also Shebnem and Inanj have written a chapter. So these are 3 books about Agile people. People are wondering, if we cannot work in the old traditional way, what should we then do instead? So I made an overview of Agile HR and how can you work in a different way in the new world of work. So people, instead of HR people working with execution, order and control, implementing, processes, IT systems and standards, we need instead to support organizational flexibility and speed and innovation and adaptability. This becomes crucial in an agile world. Instead of the old Ford way of viewing people as cogs in a machinery, we need to view people as the humans that they actually are and make it possible for them to perform and to be happy in an agile world, a VUCA world. Why does HR then need to lead this transformation towards greater agility in organizations? Well, the reason is that HR is sitting on most of the deep structures in organizations, like competence development, like performance management, learning and development, compensation and benefits, change management, organizational development, and all these deep structures that would either support people to be able to perform or make it more difficult for people to perform. And if HR keeps on doing it the old way by checking compliance to standards and processes and systems instead of supporting the organization to be more agile and to work together with the people to release human potential and to release creativity and innovation and continuously learn and develop, then we cannot change in any part of the company if HR holds on to the old ways of working. So we can start with job descriptions and job roles. They are not boxes that we should close people into. They are instead boxes that we should start from, and then we can take on many different roles in the organization from there. So we don't put people in boxes and put labels on the boxes and say, you are this, you are that, you're a high performer, low performer, etc. But what you do is that you release people's creativity and innovation and human potential by letting them taking more than one role in organizations. We talk about T-shaped competence in Agile. It means working with increasing specialized generalists or generalized specialists. I'm great at this one thing and I'm familiar with all this other stuff. So T-shaped becomes the norm instead of something that is strange or different. We have a specialty area or several specialty areas. We can also talk about pie-shaped or M-shaped or even cone-shaped when we become extremely broad and have different specialist areas. So everybody needs to become T-shaped. Then we have some principles for Agile HR that we need to increase. On this picture, we can see from the more traditional way to the more agile way of working. And instead of developing these policies, rules, and standards, we need to support flexibility, speed, and collaboration. Instead of delivering programs and processes to the customers, we need to involve the customer in the delivery. So we work together with the business every day in HR. We involve the business in the delivery and we let them have a say about what we are doing and how we are working with different things. We are coaching the organization to perform instead of stopping them to perform with the wrong structures. Instead of working with HR specialists or HR generalists or HR administrators, we want T-shaped HR people who can take on many different roles. They can play many different roles, we say. Instead of individual work, we work with cross-functional teams. Instead of functional HR or specialist areas, we can work with value stream-based HR. And a value stream in HR could be from potential candidate to onboarded employee, for example. Instead of jobs and positions, we focus on playing all these different roles. Instead of projects in HR, we focus on creating stable, high-performing teams, cross-functional HR teams who can work together as a team, joining forces and deliver together with the organization. Instead of promotions and bonus programs, we move to more human-friendly ways of rewarding people, like objective salary formulas and profit sharing if we have a profit. They can also be performance related. There are different systems for variable pay, like merit money systems or Bonusly. If you go to bonus.ly, that's such a tool that you can use for variable pay. Instead of delivering programs and processes, we support the organization to perform. And instead of one size fits all, we understand that it's about tailoring our approach to local and different needs. That different people and different groups have different needs, and we need to tailor our solutions to those needs. So we don't believe anymore that we have the right HR recipe. This is what we need to do as HR. Instead, we spend quite some time on experimenting and trying on new things, doing trial and error, failing and learning from those failures. And of course, last but not least, from human view X to human view Y. What about agile leadership? We do believe that we need to move from managing performance, where people just do as they are told because they have no choice, because a leader is using their formal power, to enabling performance, where we see the CEO not as the chief executive officer, but as the chief enabling officer. This person is ultimately responsible for that all people in the organization can perform and be happy. We also have this little metaphor. We have a rocking horse and we have a real horse. What does that mean? Well, the old kind of leadership is more like the rocking horse. It's just to you know, be an administrator. It's just to follow the process, write the report, fill in the blanks, use the IT system, and do as you are told as a manager. We take goals from above and we break them down below. It's a very machine-like, engineering-like way of managing. It's more of an administration than a leader. Instead, we need to take on real leadership. What is real leadership? That's when you help people to go in the direction that they want to, you want them to go because they want to go in that direction. So actually, you're on the same side here. You're pointing to a vision. You inspire people to go in that direction. And then you get that intrinsic motivation because people want to and not because they have to. And this is the way we want to see leadership in an agile organization. It's like a gardener. You create the system, and that's the garden, that's the soil. You create the conditions in this garden so that people want to grow. You cannot scream to a plant to grow faster, better, quicker, more, you know. It will not care about your formal power. It will only care if it has the right conditions to grow. You need water, you need some sunshine, you need some good soil, maybe some space around you so that you can grow well and develop as a person and perform and be happy. But you cannot command a plant to grow. And it's same with people, not if they are going to grow and perform from intrinsic motivation. And then we have this formula from Kurt Lewin from 1936. Behavior is a function of personality and environment. So if we want to change behaviors in our organizations, if we want people to behave in better and more productive ways, then we cannot really, you know, change personalities. It's the environment that we can change. So we need to focus on the system. Don't manage people, manage the system. Managing the system, the garden, becomes the most important thing for a leader in an agile organization and for the role as an agile people coach. So agile leadership principles, here we move from building on control and micromanaging to building on intrinsic motivation instead. Communication is not just via formal managers in the future. Communication flows free between everybody. Instead of formal leadership, we can also work with informal leadership. Instead of micromanaging, we explain the why and the what, and we leave the how to the people. Instead of secret information, we work with transparency and information and knowledge so that people are empowered to take the decisions that they need to take, when they need to take them, where they need to take them. Instead of managers deciding performance of employees, employees can decide performance for themselves. And here we have a great tool called Objectives and Key Results for that actual purpose. Instead of decision-making by management, everybody is involved in decision-making in an agile organization. Leaders understand that we need to empower people to take their own decisions and be responsible for those decisions that they take. Instead of goal setting by managers, goals are set in an agile organization by both individuals, teams, and leaders, and the organization on all kinds of levels. Instead of SMART goals, we work with objectives and key results. Instead of formal management, we can work with self-leadership. And paradoxically enough, in an agile organization, there is a lot more leadership than in a traditional organization, because everybody needs to and have to take a part of leadership. And instead of human view X, we work with human view Y, obviously. So the roles of the Agile People Coach, if we look at a traditional Agile coach, it's a very process-heavy role. They come from IT. Maybe they have been a project manager, an IT project manager in the past. Maybe they have been a Scrum Master. Maybe they have been some kind of system developer, who knows? But they usually come from IT. An Agile People Coach is very heavy on the people competence, psychology, social relationships, and how do you make a social system work in the direction you want it to work in. So an Agile People Coach can come from HR, leadership, or Agile coaching, or any part of the organization. The 9 roles that we see that an Agile People Coach needs to take is, except for the usual Agile coaching roles, which are trainer, mentor, coach, and facilitator, you also have to be able to be the reflective observer, the navigator, the guide. And you can come from either being an HR professional, a leader or explorer, or a master of Agile. So these are many different roles that you need to be able to take on. And the most important of all these roles is the reflective observer. This ability to stand outside the system and to look at it and say, what role should I now take when I move into the system again? How can I best be a servant to my organization and to my team? And in which role can I make myself most useful? So that's the Agile People Coach and the role that we need to take for the future of work. We can only change organizations if we remove limiting structures together. HR cannot do it alone. Also, leaders cannot do it alone. Finance cannot do it alone. Nobody can do it alone. Everybody needs to work together to change this. And we don't have a perfect recipe here for change. Agile is an anti-recipe, we say. It's the absence of a recipe. We have to invent the way that our organizations should work. And having said that, I'm going to give you a very easy recipe. Change or remove limiting structures, mainly from finance and HR. You know, the fixed budgets linked to fixed performance targets and bonuses and rewards. And then we increase supporting structures instead of those limiting structures to make it easy to behave according to the Agile mindset. So these supporting structures could be Scrum, Kanban boards, or other Agile tools that you get from Lean and Agile. So these are supporting structures instead of limiting structures. Then you start to show these new behaviors that come from using supporting instead of limiting structures. And then you repeat from 1, because those limiting structures have a tendency to creep back on you. It's called bureaucracy, and it grows all the time in companies when companies grow and get bigger. Last, I wanted to show you the agilepeoplemanifesto.org picture. We created this manifesto to help spread the values of Agile people in all of the world. So go to agilepeoplemanifesto.org to read more about this. You are very welcome to join the Agile People community, participate in an Agile People training online, or visit agilepeople.com for more information. And I would also like to thank Inanç and Şebnem, who are Agile People's representatives in Turkey and who can teach you more about this. And they are also themselves workshop facilitators and instructors in Agile People's courses. So they are running Agile Leadership and Agile HR courses in Turkey for Agile People. I'm very sorry about the technical mess in the beginning of this presentation. I hope you got something out of it anyway. Thank you so much.